Welcome to the Bay Area News Group's post-game wrap-up for Game 4 of the Sharks and Oilers. I'm Paul Gackle, here with columnist Mark Purdy, beat reporter Curtis Pehalka. The Sharks, a huge 7-0 win over the Edmonton Oilers tonight to tie this series at 2 games apiece. They go back to Edmonton for Game 5 on Thursday. Now, Curtis, you had a piece in the Mercury News this morning where you were talking about how important it would be for the big guns. We're talking about guys like Joe Thornton, Joe Pavelski, Patrick Marleau, Brent Burns, Logan Couture to step up and do something. These guys were all big players in the Sharks' run to the final last spring, but only 1 point between them going into tonight's action. We saw them completely break out with 11 points tonight. What can you say about this performance from the big dogs?
Well, I mean, the first goal 45 seconds into the game by Joe Pavelski. 15 seconds, 15. I apologize. I should get that right.
Short-changing him.
45 Canadian.
That's right. 15 seconds into the game, I apologize for Joe Pavelski. Sets the tone right away, obviously, and gives these guys a lead for the first time in the series, if you don't count Malcolm Karlsson's goal in overtime in Game 1. So obviously a huge way for that team to start, and it gave the Sharks something to feed on. When their leader scores, when a guy like Marleau is able to follow that up, Logan Couture is able to follow that up, Brent Burns with 3 assists tonight. That really kind of puts everyone maybe a little bit at ease, knowing this was kind of a must-win game. And obviously in the playoff time, your best players have to be your best players. So an impressive performance all the way around by the Sharks' top offensive stars tonight.
Mark Purdy, obviously you need a team to win, but we saw these guys last year, just how important they were on that run. What do you make out of tonight's performance from these guys? Is this something they can build off of going into the further into this series?
Well, there's never any. I never believe in that much carryover. I don't know what we're going to see in Edmonton on Thursday night, but to me, the zero part of this was just as impressive as the 7, and the fact that they scored all these goals while also continuing to play good defense is a takeaway I will have from this game, and also that it's clear from, if any of you were here tonight and you watched with your own eyeballs, you saw Joe Thornton and Logan Couture are getting better each game. You can tell they're recovering from their injuries game to game, and I get paid the same. I don't know about you guys. I get paid the same whoever wins. I think you do too. But I was really happy for Logan Couture tonight to see him score, particularly that early goal, the second goal of the game. It had to be a huge release for him after everything he's gone through with his mouth injury, and as it turned out, and because the Oilers are, you can tell they're banging his upper body, to put it delicately, and getting that chin area. And tonight he took another blow there. He actually, between the second and third period, took another numbing injection in there. So he is fighting through this. But to see the way he played tonight, and to see the way Thornton continued to improve, that's my big takeaway moving ahead.
Yeah, those guys both big for the 7 and the 0. Thornton, one of the most offensively gifted players in the league, a big part of the Sharks' offense. Of course, Couture, one of the better defensive forwards in the league, so he's a big part of that defense and shutting down McDavid. And, Couture takes a high stick to the mouth. Yeah. Just the shift before he winds up scoring a power play goal. Yeah. It shows a lot about Logan.
He said it moved his tooth around, too.
Moved his tooth around, had to go in and get numbed. Yeah. So, pretty big stuff from Logan Couture. But these two guys also very big pieces, of course, of the power play. I've been on the radio in Edmonton the last couple days. That's the question I get. What is wrong with this power play? How does this power play not doing anything with this collection of guys? And my answer is always the same. If I knew that answer, I would be making more money as a coach in the NHL somewhere. So Curtis Pehalka.
That's not a good answer.
So Curtis,
you got to come up with a better answer than that.
Curtis,
the answer is, I know the answer. They're not shooting enough on the power play. If you don't, let me bang you against the boards. If you don't, Wayne Gretzky said, you don't make 100% of the shots you don't take.
I believe that was Michael Scott from The Office.
Well, whatever. But the fact that they were moving the puck around and shooting, I think, more tonight, you saw I think that was the case. Am I wrong?
A new franchise record, 4 power play goals in a playoff game. Curtis, is Purdy wrong? I'm going to pass this to you, since I don't want to get hit into the glass again.
Well, I think no, you definitely saw. I mean, the Sharks were a little bit more aggressive in trying to look for the shots. You know, I mean,
Also, they get set up quicker to take shots.
exactly. And I think key. You saw Patrick Marleau's goal was a perfect example. He took it from the top of the circles. This wasn't a shot from just inside the blue line. This was a shot right on the top of the circle. So these guys were able to kind of move in, get a little bit closer to the net. You know, sometimes their problem has been that they're too far on the perimeter. But I thought tonight they're attacking. They're getting quality shots from the points that they're comfortable shooting from. And, you know, I mean, it just results in you know, more quality chances for goals. So, you know, I think the Sharks did a really good job tonight of just getting quality shots, not trying to be too finicky on where, you know, on looking for the perfect shot, looking for the perfect pass. Once you got a good lane, go ahead and fire it. And if it doesn't go in, search for the rebound. And if Cam Talbot makes a save, he makes a save. But at the end of the day, this is a Sharks team that desperately needed its power play to come through in its most critical game of the season. And right now, it's enough for them to kind of continue this going forward. We don't know if the Oilers are going to take 6 or 7 penalties in Game 5, but I think the Sharks feel that their power play has maybe turned a little bit of a corner going into the next game.
Well, you talk about those discipline issues that we've seen from the Oilers. 6 penalties that they committed in Game 1 and in Game 2. We saw discipline play a role again here in the second period as Leon Draisaitl losing his cool a little bit. He gives a spear to Chris Tierney, we'll say maybe a sensitive region. Curtis Pehalka, does Draisaitl get suspended for this? Because you take him off the ice. I mean, this is a guy that was 8th in the league in scoring this year with 77 points. You take Leon Draisaitl off the ice, that's going to really take a lot of offense away from the Edmonton Oilers. Do you see a suspension here?
Well, I'm not sure I say suspension. I think a fine is in order. And certainly Pete DeBoer and the Sharks after the game seem to be lobbying pretty hard for Draisaitl to get suspended at least a game. I'm not sure I see that. I mean, it was an ugly play, a dirty play.
Why? Okay, here's the dumb columnist question. Why wouldn't you suspend him? Well, I mean, that's as bad a thing. I mean, Draymond Green for the Warriors last year got suspended for doing that to somebody, right?
Part of the reason I think he might not get suspended is Chris Tierney was able to come back right away.
Oh, so he should have stayed down.
It's weird how it sometimes the NHL kind of says yay or nay to a suspension is how a player comes back for that. He has to miss the rest of the game. I think that factors into it. Chris Tierney is able to kind of shake it off, I guess, for lack of a better word, and come back pretty soon after that. So I know it shouldn't play a role, but sometimes in the surface it does play a role. So, you know, you will get disciplined in some fashion. I think it's going to be more of a fine than a suspension, but we'll see. Maybe the league wants to kind of crack down on this before Game 5, and you know, thinking that, you know, things won't carry over if they give a suspension. So we'll see. I tend to think not, but, you know, of course, the NHL has the final say.
Well, we saw a spear that Joe Thornton threw on Paul Stastny of the St. Louis Blues earlier this year. Thornton was not considered a repeat offender, and Stastny was not injured on the play. Thornton didn't even have to have a hearing, let alone did he get suspended. So maybe that's an indication of what we're going to see. I guess we'll find out probably tomorrow, because Game 5 coming up on Thursday. We're all going to be looking forward to that.
We're going to be here on Saturday for Game 6.
We'll be here on Saturday for Game 6.
You don't ask better questions. I'm going to take this stool to you.
On that note, we'll catch up with you guys on Game 6 on Saturday night.